some of you may have heard that the Scary Fast event was filmed on a iPhone 15 Pro. And people were arguing about this week, and they were pissed because they were surprised to learn that it wasn't just some big fat guy with Cheeto stands on his shirt holding an iPhone. And I was like, go ahead, Tim. Like, they had a whole team of professionals there filming with lights that probably cost, more than a maxed out MacBook Pro. And I don't know about you, Griffin, but when I first saw the stream, let me see if I can find this. I actually thought the picture looked weird. Like, it looked like they I don't know if it's because they filmed it on an iPhone or if it's because they filmed it at 60 frames per second or something. It looked like it had soap opera effect big time. And I noticed immediately, like, I don't think I could have articulated what was wrong with it, but it looked to me like they were doing something different than they normally did, and it turns out that they actually filmed the whole thing on iPhone. They also released a new behind-the-scenes video that shows how they filmed the whole event, which I thought was really pretty interesting. But people were surprised to see that they had used, like, all this lighting equipment and all this special equipment to film it. I'm like, dude, well, yeah. They're not going to just have some schmo holding a phone walking around. Like, they're trying to sell billions of dollars worth of new Macs. Like, of course they're going to spend all the money on professionals and equipment to make the picture look as good as possible. I know you said you had some thoughts on this, Griffin. What were you going to say?
I think what a lot of people misunderstand is that, like, a proper, like, TV production quality camera, or a cinematic camera, like, sure, the camera itself is expensive, but at a certain point the camera starts to become, like, the least important part of the whole setup. Like, once you get to, like, a high enough quality, a majority of the cost of a TV or a movie camera is in the gimbal that it's sitting on, the lenses that you attach to the camera, the lights, the microphones, everything else. Like, the camera itself is at a certain level, like, the least important thing, the least important part of the process of filming something on TV or movies, which sounds ridiculous. Like, but like, the gimbal, the lens attachments are far more expensive, and that's what really gives it. That's what takes it from, like, the last 20% of the look. And now it is impressive that, like, an iPhone is able to swap into that spot, but I think a lot of it still comes from, like, making it look that good comes from all of the extra bits that they
Oh,
they attach to,
100%,
like, the
dude.
rest of
Like,
the cinematic.
and I would say it makes that stuff even more critical because iPhones do not do super well in low light. And they don't have nearly the same dynamic range as cameras that are more expensive. And by dynamic range, I mean the ability to show, to accurately show different light gradations. So from the brightest light to the darkest light, like, can it show everything within those differences and show it all in the same image without blowing something out or making something look too dark?
Well,
And
a
so you have
big
to
part
be
of that
extra
is
careful
is
for lighting.
specifically that a big part of that is that they filmed it on the iPhone 15 Pro, and I think the reason they waited until this specific generation of iPhone to do that is because it has the log encoding for color grading, which significantly reduces the amount of, like, blown out brights and, like, muddy shadows that you're used to seeing on a phone footage, because
Yeah.
it, like, all of the brightness is log encoded. So if you don't know what that means, it basically adds additional math to the picture, like, capturing extra detail that you would not normally get, like, straight out of the camera. So you bring that footage into Final Cut Pro, and everything looks, like, muted and gray and desaturated.
Yep.
But then you start fiddling with it, and you find out that there's so much more detail in the color in there that you wouldn't be able to normally get.
Huh. So I'm reading the chat here. Jay Cruz is saying too much digital edge. Yeah, they should have put a Pro Mist filter on it. That would have been so funny. I don't know what cracks me up about Tim Cook and a Pro Mist filter. It does kind of seem like he lives his life in a Pro Mist filter. He just looks so soft and non-wrinkled everywhere he goes. Yeah, so the iPhone definitely has, and not just the iPhone, but phones in general, they tend to over sharpen their image. So, I also don't understand the point of recording your whole event with iPhone. Like, what is this trying to prove? Because professionals aren't going to use iPhones to film their cinematic works, and people who don't pay attention to cameras don't care what your event was filmed on, right? Like, it's not going to be like, oh, well, I'm going to buy an iPhone because they filmed their Scary Fast event with an iPhone. It must be a professional tool. It's like people who are interested in professional tools aren't going to use an iPhone, and people who aren't interested in professional tools don't care what camera you used. So I don't really understand what the point was, but they used an iPhone. Pretty cool. Let's see, real
Well,
quick.
I think they're maybe not like professional people, but like, people on the amateur level, people who are shooting student films in college, people or even in professional settings, in situations where a TV camera is just like too bulky or big to do what you want it to do. This is proving that an iPhone can do those things, and most people probably won't notice unless they're really paying attention.
Yeah. Level Remix says he shoots with an iPhone. It makes me want to get an iPhone 15 Max. I mean, that definitely has a beautiful camera. And the thing I don't like about iPhones is their low light performance. That continues to be an issue, but it's not strictly an iPhone problem. Obviously, it's like most cameras don't do well in low light. And I also think that they do tend to over sharpen, and sometimes the HDR looks a little bit too HDR-y, which I don't love. But I think for daily life, they actually create really beautiful pictures.